This is Wolfgarden's Timelapse Part 1, Take 1 of the narration. Oh man, I hope this goes well, because last time I recorded this, I was in a trailer somewhere on the other side of the state, and when I got back and played it back, my voice sounded like a cross between a transformer and a kid who doesn't know how to use a microphone. So, let's hope that it doesn't mess up this time. Wolfgarden's is, by a long shot, my largest project to date. It took months of designing and building to finish, and it was so detailed, I had to break it into 2 parts. So here we go. I'm gonna do that again. Wolfgarden's is, by a long shot, my largest project to date. It took months of designing and building to finish, and it was so detailed, I had to break it into 2 parts. So here we go. There we go. Now, before making this game, I'd never in my life successfully built a roller coaster. All previous attempts had turned into a jagged mess, causing me to quickly give up. Not wanting to start off on the wrong foot, I began this project by building the parking lot. It was much simpler and more familiar ground. Scroll down a bit. Much like I do with other projects, I did my best to build the concrete and grass dividers as closely to Much like I do with other projects, I did my best to build the concrete and grass dividers as closely to real life as I could. For the lampposts, however, I made the base realistic and just kind of winged it at the top. Considering that most people don't look up in these games, and that I wanted to stick with the rectangular design of the post itself, I ran out of breath. I just made the light as a simple box with the neon material rectangle inside of it. Building the lampposts also brought my attention to the general lighting. I moved the sun around the sky for maximum impact on entry to the game, trying to make it as flaring as I could while staying realistic. I also changed some of the shadow properties because I didn't want any part of the park to be cast into complete darkness. Wow, the script is just full of tongue twisters. What was I thinking? Alright. Moving back to the lampposts, I duplicated the concrete divider and lamp and mirrored it. Then, after placing thin strips of white concrete to act like painted lines, I copied the lamp multiple times to light the rest of the parking lot. To build the railing in a circular pattern, I put 2 duplicate poles on either end of the concrete circle. Then, selecting 2 of them, I continually copied and pasted them, rotating them by 5 degrees at a time. Once I had as many as I needed, I could delete the ones on the other side and be left with a perfect array of poles. I could do essentially the same thing for the rails themselves as well. To handle the rail segment sizing, I just selected all of the rails and changed their sizes until they just barely connected together, creating a smooth finish. Then I cut the sizes of the end pieces in half and rounded it off with tiny spheres, giving the appearance of a rounded corner. Then I cut the sizes of the end pieces in half and rounded it off with tiny spheres, giving the appearance of a rounded corner. I keep, rounded it. It's like trying to say edited. It's so hard. Edited. Alright. Gotta scroll down again. I should get, a teleprompter software, because right now I'm just holding my mouse in my hand and using the scroll wheel to go up and down a Word document. Ugh. The park entrance itself was an incredibly odd shape, giving itself the appearance of a circle. The park entrance itself was an incredibly odd shape. There we go. Giving itself the appearance of a circle meshed with a right triangle on top of a rectangle. It was an absolute pain to build, but I feel that it was worth it. I created a hollowed out cylinder and cut out 3/4 of it to take the shape of the front wall. Switching gears, I added more posts to the walls surrounding the parking lot, giving it more of a reinforced look. It took a couple of tries to get the spacing right. You might notice that I'm putting extra long pauses between just parts of sentences, and that's because if I mess up a take, then I can just say the same line a couple times and then cut wherever the commas are and splice things in. It's actually really useful a lot of the time. Alright. Where am I? Shouldn't have gone off on a tangent because now I can't tell where I am in the script. It took a couple of tries to get the space. I think it's spacing right. Alright. Then I continued with building the entrance, adding the ceiling and walls to the structure, as well as cutting holes for the windows and door. I had originally planned for no windows and 3 doors, but I decided against it and built it like it is. I added some lighting to get rid of the shadows, and then I got to work on the security area. I didn't originally plan to include a security area, but with how common they've become at pretty much every amusement park ever... I didn't originally plan to include a security area, but with how common they've become at pretty much every amusement park ever, I felt like it would help with the realism. Oh, there's a word missing in the script. Alright. I did my best to copy every aspect of a security checkpoint that I could remember, from the tables to the rope/belt things. I never did figure out what those were called. See my previous video. I did forget to add the... No. I think I should just leave that part out. Sometimes I just put notes to my future self as I'm talking. So leave out the bit about in the last video because that kind of messes up the pacing. All right. I did forget to add the metal detectors though. Oh well. I mentioned in a previous video how much I hated the appearance of my folding table design, and I am pleased to say that I like this design much better. Although it's still not quite right, it looks like much less of an eyesore. I finished up the security checkpoint with a sign that said, what else? Security. This is already going way longer than my last session because I'm actually trying to make it good and not rush. Now I felt like I was ready to tackle the coaster themselves. That should be coasters. Again, typo in the script. I should edit this before I actually record it. Now I felt like I was ready to tackle the coasters themselves. I had built the car in a different file and also started on the track design there. To complete the track design, I added a third bar below and connected it to the other two to make a triangle shape. Then I copied one of each item and moved it to the front of the track. I made all of the sizes equal and grouped it together. This would act as a base of sorts, allowing me to build it section by section and then go back and resize the... Allowing me to build it section by section and then to go back and resize the individual pulls. Look at me, grammar checking on the fly. Should make this my job. Hang on, I can't scroll with the mouse. Why is it not working? Okay. Where did I leave off? Oh no, I keep losing my spot. All right. Actually, the base source and visual pull. All right. I also spent a bit of time grouping objects together in an effort to make the game more navigable. Navigable. I don't know how to pronounce that. I also spent a bit of time grouping objects together in an effort to make the game more... I'm just going to replace that with easy to navigate. I also spent a bit of time grouping objects together in an effort to make the game easier to navigate. Of course, the files eventually fell into total disarray, as they always do on a large project, but I tried my best. Finally, it was time to start building the track. I used the Edge Rotate tool, which was part of the Studio Build Suite. I never did say what the Studio Build Suite is, but I don't think it really matters. The number one rule to make the track smooth... No. The number one rule to make sure that the track appears smooth is to never rotate parts into each other. If possible, always rotate the parts away from the previous segment. Gaps are easily fixable, but clipping is not. Actually, that rule that I claimed that I was following, I wasn't following that rule. I was actually just... I didn't come up with that rule until I was typing out the script, like a month after I recorded the time lapse. And the only reason I kept it was because... the only reason I actually put the rule into words was because I was writing the script. And in order to come up with that rule, I just kind of looked at, okay, well, what worked best and what didn't work. For the loop, I had a lot of parts intersecting into each other, and that made it look bad. Alright. That tangent's over. Alright, I seriously need to, I can never find my spot. I'm gonna show a little screen cap of what my screen looks like when I'm recording this type of thing, because I have to try and find my spot on the page from 5 feet away. Alright, Alright. Did I do the gap? I'll just do it again. Gaps are easily fixable, but clipping is not. It certainly took me a good long while to get used to building in such a strange manner. I rarely focused on such small details as the order of operations done on each segment. I ran out of breath. I rarely focused on such small... Oh, that was almost a voice crack right there. I rarely focused on such small details as the order of operations done on each segment, or the rotation to gap ratio, but for this I had to use the utmost precision. Of course, there are some areas where the coaster looks really bumpy and jagged, but I did my best to make it look smooth. One thing I had going for me was that I already had the track and the entire park in general designed. The yellow bricks were my guidelines, and I could follow them loosely and delete them as I built. The pink bricks served as guidelines for ambient features, such as benches and a fountain. It just occurred to me that every time the clock next to me clicks, the waveform goes up a little bit. I really hope you're not going to be able to hear this on the recording. Do you hear the clock? Oh well. And I lost my spot again. There you go. See, this is why it takes so long. It's because I go... Alright. Clipping is not... Alright. The loop section was where I first really ran into trouble. The loop section was where I really first ran into trouble. Nikki, go lay down. My dog's tags are jingling. Go lay down. Thank you. The loop section was where I first really ran into trouble. I discovered that I really didn't have much of an idea on how to procedurally build a loop that somehow simultaneously moved to the right. I did my best to make it look good, but I still think it didn't turn out very well. I'd love to try it again sometime because I have some... Quiet. I'd love to try it again sometime because I have some kind of an idea on how I can make it better. After solving the problem with the loop, I had a section where the track would twist and then turn downwards. I had become accustomed to turning, but twisting was something that I didn't know how to do yet. I finally figured out that the way to accomplish it was by rotating with the crossbar acting as the pivot point, and then individually rotating each rail a couple of degrees up. It's a good thing I figured out how to make twisting tracks because later down the line I had a 360-degree twist. Rather than trying to build a loop, I just copied and pasted the previous one and moved it to where it needed to be. After adding a few twists and turns, I called it a day. And that's where this video ends, for now. Hey, thanks a ton for watching. I really didn't want to make this a 2-part video, but I doubt anyone wants to watch me build for 17 minutes straight. Also, YouTube doesn't let me upload longer than 15 minutes yet. Okay, I'm going too fast. Hey, thanks a ton for watching. I really didn't want to make this a 2-part video. Hey, thanks a ton for watching. Alright, keep that part because that's good. I really didn't want to make this a 2-part video, but I doubt that... I really didn't want to make this a 2-part video, but I doubt that anyone wants to watch me build... But I doubt that anyone wants to watch me build for 17 minutes straight. Also, YouTube doesn't let me upload longer than 15 minutes yet. Anyway, be sure to leave a like, subscribe, and most importantly, comment. Anyway, be sure to leave a like, subscribe, and most importantly, comment to give me that wonderful feedback. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, I will see you next Friday. I have no idea how well that turned out. Hope it turned out well. Yeah, I have to talk really fast because, I don't know if any of you guys know, but there's like a 20 seconds time limit imposed on end cards now on YouTube, which is really annoying, but so I have to try and cram all that into like the end card. I could just like leave out the bit about like why it was a 2-parter, but I really like to keep in little clips of the video inside of the end card because that kind of it makes it seem more personalized to that video and less like I'm just copying and pasting from a previous project into this one, and it just gives a little variety, and I like that. Alright, so thanks for tuning in. I guess I'm gonna be putting out a part 2 of the behind the scenes of recording audio next week. Well, anyway, thanks for watching. Yeah. Anyway, be sure to leave... There's a plane. Holy cow. Anyway, be sure to leave a like, subscribe, and most importantly, comment to give me that wonderful feedback. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, I will see you next Friday.